Hey everyone, James here on the Crypto Swiss channel, and wow, history really has a habit of repeating itself, doesn't it? We've seen this play out before. Sure, the catalyst might be different this time, like a sequel with a new twist, but the plot feels all too familiar. Chaos in the markets, panic in the air, blood in the streets. This isn't humanity's first rodeo. Markets have crashed, people have freaked out. It's practically tradition at this point. But let's take a step back. Losing your cool over price swings? Come on, it's not exactly shocking. Tired of fake gurus who claim to be expert traders but never trade live? I trade live on the second largest crypto exchange, where everything is transparent and results can't be faked. For over 440 days, I've consistently closed every month in profit. In the last 90 days alone, my followers have earned over $34,000 in profits with only 4% drawdown. Verified results, not empty claims. Want to see my verified stats? Click the first link in my profile and start copying my trades for free today. Especially with the wild ripple effects these tariff antics might unleash. Stay calm. This is just another chapter in the same old story. Markets took a nosedive overnight, but as of now, there's been a slight rebound. Why the sudden relief? I'll break it down in this video. However, let me be clear, this doesn't necessarily mean we've hit the bottom yet. That said, I'm not worried, and here's why. I'll also share insights from a few XRP chart analysts who believe XRP is still in a strong position, even amidst the turbulence in the crypto world. It's fascinating to see how well XRP is holding up despite the chaos. So, let me say this. It's not the time to panic over the current market swings. Before diving deeper, a quick disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor or an expert of any kind. I'm just a crypto enthusiast who loves talking about the space. Don't make any financial decisions based on what I say, as this is purely for fun and entertainment. Alright, back to business. It's Monday, April 7th, 2025, 11:04 a.m. Central Time as I record this. XRP currently sits at $1.87 after an intense 24 hours. Earlier this morning, it dropped as low as $1.63, but quickly bounced back to hit $1.97 before dipping again. That's a huge swing in a short time. I'll explain what drove this wild movement in just a moment. Stay tuned. Bitcoin is sitting at $78,554, briefly touching $80,300, and it's moving in tandem with the latest catalyst. Interestingly, when you compare the 24-hour charts for XRP and Bitcoin, they're practically identical. Why? XRP's dip isn't about its fundamentals. They've never been stronger. This is pure macro-driven price volatility, panic selling because of external factors unrelated to XRP. It just doesn't make sense. Of course, everyone's situation is different, but in my view, investing in crypto, or the stock market, without a long-term mindset is a recipe for frustration. Volatility is inevitable, and the headlines will always find a new catalyst to stir the pot. Right now, fear is in the driver's seat. The Crypto Fear and Greed Index sits at a shaky 23 out of 100, deep in extreme fear territory. It updates every 24 hours, and in just under 8 hours, we'll see where it lands next. I, for one, am curious. Fear is temporary. Cycles repeat. And the big picture rarely cares about short-term noise. I can't say for sure right now. Sure, we just saw a little rebound, but the day isn't over, and a lot can still happen before the next update. Will it go a bit higher or lower? If I had to guess, I'd lean towards lower, but honestly, who knows? Let's wait and see. Now, I mentioned this in a video yesterday, but it's worth bringing up again because it's so relevant and I want more people to see this. It's a reminder that what we're experiencing now isn't the first time we've seen panic-driven chaos like this. Flashback to March 2020. The last major catalyst was COVID. The pandemic hit and fear took over. The post you're looking at now is from March 13th, 3:04 p.m. Central Time, with a photo I took at my local Sam's Club. The produce section? Completely empty. I had gone there at 2 p.m. that day. Every parking space was taken, every shopping cart gone, and not a single piece of produce left. Zero. People were panicking. It wasn't rational, but fear rarely is. If you're stressed about XRP's current price, remember this. Fear drives irrational actions, and things won't stay like this forever. And guess what? That moment aged beautifully. Here's another picture I took that day. Rows of empty shopping cart bays because the store was packed with people panic buying everything in sight. Total pandemonium. But here's the key takeaway. The macro event didn't mean XRP's fundamentals were gone. If anything, they were strengthening. And this was before the SEC lawsuit. Back then, XRP's price was around 25 cents, but it eventually crashed to 10 cents. Then hovered at about 15 cents for a while. People panicked. They sold XRP left and right. Was that the right move? Probably not. Why? Because that 10-cent low in March 2020 turned into a 34x increase when XRP peaked in January of this year, from 10 cents to a massive 34-fold return. So let me ask you, would it have been better to buy at that point or sell? Something to think about, isn't it? People are so focused on the short term, gripped by fear. It's just gonna drop lower, they think. But let's be real, the fundamentals haven't changed. It's not going to zero. Why would it? Are we imagining a world where stocks hit zero, the economy collapses, and the stock market vanishes into thin air? Come on. We've got over a century of data proving that markets tank during macro events that spook investors. And then, they bounce back. The smart, level-headed people who don't let fear control them, they're the ones who come out ahead. Last night, I shared a post about this. All of this turbulence, it'll blow over, whether fast or slow. In the meantime, I'm holding on to the same amount of stocks and crypto. Why? Because in the grand scheme of things, this moment won't matter. Panic selling is irrational. I truly believe that. My investing approach is simple, maybe even unsophisticated, but it works. Whether it's stocks or crypto, I buy a broad mix, hold on to it, and do nothing. That's it. Good day in the market, I do nothing. Bad day, still nothing. Because I understand this truth. It doesn't matter. Not in the long run. If you think markets will hit zero and stay there forever, we're talking about the collapse of the world as we know it. And at that point, who's going to care about investments anyway? So no, I'm not losing sleep over this. I'm having a great day actually. Fear and negativity over market swings just don't make sense to me. Now, let me share something fascinating. Patrick Bet-David, host of the PBD podcast with 1.3 million followers, posted a video about why panic selling is a terrible idea. It's almost 5 minutes long, and he told a story that really drives the point home. He talked about a friend who had $10 million invested in the stock market before the COVID crash in March 2020. When the market tanked, his portfolio dropped to $5 million. Overwhelmed, the guy sold everything. He couldn't handle the pressure, but here's the kicker. Within a few months, the market rebounded. Patrick said his friend effectively lost $5 million because he let fear take over. That's the cost of panic. He lost $5 million because he panic sold, couldn't wait it out. Crazy, right? You'd think someone who'd built that kind of wealth would keep their emotions in check. But hey, it happens. I was shocked too. So I reposted that video and said, everyone needs to watch this. It hits on a point I've been hammering home for years. Panic selling rarely works out for investors. Right now, XRP is in a position like never before. It just broke out of a 7-year symmetrical triangle, hit a new all-time high a few months back, and its fundamentals, stronger than ever. More wallets, more network activity, more people building on the XRP ledger. It's thriving. And yet, people are panic selling. Why? The lawsuit? Sure, that's part of it. But it's not the end of the world. COVID wasn't the end of the world for XRP. None of the other challenges over the past decade were either. Time has proven that. So why now? Seriously, is this really the time to panic sell? I don't think so, folks. Oh, and let's talk about the decoupling narrative. Last week, the Terra scare hit. Markets tanked, stocks especially. Crypto dipped a bit too. But the very next day, green. Suddenly everyone's shouting, crypto is decoupling. I had to make a video to call it out. Not so fast. Declaring decoupling based on a single day of data? That's ridiculous. It never made sense. I even wrote a post this morning saying, can we be done with this narrative already? Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see crypto decouple from equities. If it happens, fantastic. But we need more than one random day to call it a trend. Honestly, I still don't know why crypto held up so well in the face of all that turmoil last week. It just did. And yeah, it was fun to watch. But let's not jump the gun. XRP hit around $2.15. Pretty wild, right? It's fun to watch, but let's be real. It's an oddity. Does one day of chaos signal a trend? Absolutely not. Yet some are rushing to claim, look, it's decoupling. Bitcoin is king now. Give me a break. Stop jumping to conclusions. That logic is just nonsense. Anthony Pompliano nailed it with this post. The undisciplined, over-levered, and short-term oriented panic, while the patient, unlevered, and long-term oriented feel nothing. Bam. Spot on. That's exactly how I feel. No panic here. I'm just enjoying the ride and looking forward to seeing how this all shakes out. Once the dust settles, and it will, I'm excited for what's next. Whether that's in a few months or a bit longer. We're going to get through this. It's not the apocalypse. Honestly, I think all this tariff drama is just a negotiating move by Trump. Love it or hate it, that's my take. Look at this New York Post headline from yesterday. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick reveals 50 nations reached out to negotiate tariffs, warns there is no postponing. That's the whole game. Pressure tactics. Trump's not going to let the world burn indefinitely, even though markets feel scorched right now. But here's where it gets interesting. Euronews today reported that some of this strategy might actually be working. Van der Leyen pitches Trump a bold 0-for-0 tariffs deal on all industrial goods, a move right up Trump's alley. It's the kind of negotiation starter he loves. Europe, as always, is ready to strike a beneficial deal, according to Ursula von der Leyen, amid rising trade tensions with the US. The European Commission is proposing a tariff-free agreement on industrial goods, but von der Leyen is clear. If talks fail, she's prepared to retaliate against Trump's policies. Trump, ever the deal maker, after all, this is the man who wrote The Art of the Deal, is using his signature hardball tactics. Whether you love it or hate it, this is classic Trump. The question is, how far is he willing to bend? He's not expecting to get 100% of what he demands. It's just a starting point, part of the bargaining game. One way or another, this trade standoff isn't permanent. Sure, you could argue he's flirting with danger here. That's fair. There's always a risk things could derail entirely, but it's unlikely he'll insist on his opening demands. Oh, and there's another piece to this puzzle. Seth Golden shared a post. It's somewhere here. I think I moved the tab, or maybe it's out of order. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, there was a leaked rumor. I thought I had it handy, but you get the gist. Rumors are swirling that Trump might delay implementing those tariffs by 90 days, and that could explain the sudden spike in XRP, Bitcoin, and broader markets. Right before recording this, I did some digging into the stock market and checked a bunch of indexes. Dow Jones, Russell 2000, S&P 500, NASDAQ 100. Some were slightly down, one was up, can't remember which. But overall, the market was basically flat. The point is, after all the chaos in this morning's dip, this rumor, true or not, seems to have brought the market back to life. Take XRP, for example. It jumped from $1.75 to $1.97 in no time, before settling back down a bit. That spike? Likely tied to the tariff rumor. Now here's where it gets interesting. Seth Golden, a hedge fund consultant and market strategist, shared his thoughts. He wrote that the White House's potential 90-day tariff pause is likely not fake, but also something they probably didn't want leaked, as it undermines their attempt to keep maximum pressure on for at least another day while they negotiate. Meanwhile, Charles Gasparino chimed in with his own take, suggesting there's internal drama in the Trump administration. He speculated that conflicting statements from the White House often point to a civil war of sorts. While he admits he has no direct evidence, he noted how its clear factions are forming, with people like Hassett and Besant pushing for negotiations and a pause, while Lutnick and Navarro are advocating the total opposite. Whether these rumors hold water or not, the markets seem to believe there's something going on here. Oh, and here's the kicker. This whole situation is honestly hilarious when you think about it. Markets, rumors, internal drama, it's a circus out there. So, remember last week when Trump dropped the bombshell about tariffs? You know, the whole reciprocal tariff situation that sent the markets into a frenzy? Well, the day after, China hit back. They were like, oh, you want to play this game? Fine. And slapped a massive 34% tariff increase on US goods. Classic trade war escalation, right? Turns out, Trump wasn't exactly thrilled. This morning, he took to Truth Social to fire back. Here's a snippet of what he said. If China does not withdraw its 34% tariff increase and their long-term trade abuses by April 8, 2025, the US will impose additional tariffs of 50% starting April 9th. Classic Trump, escalating the drama with a bold move. You kind of have to admire the sheer audacity, don't you? It's like a game of one-upmanship, and Trump's doubling down. But let's be real, who does this hurt more? Sure, you might glance around your home or office and think, everything's made in China. That's not entirely true. But yeah, a lot of stuff is. Still, could the blow actually land harder on China? Here's why Trump probably thinks so. I looked up the numbers, and in 2023, a solid 14.8% of China's global exports went straight to the US. That's a huge chunk of their trade. So, who's in the weaker position here? Trump seems convinced it's China. Now, is this just a negotiating tactic? Sure, but knowing Trump, this feels more like a genuine threat than a bluff. He doesn't strike me as the type to cave. He's all about winning, or at least looking like he's winning. I truly believe he's going to follow through on this. Something big is brewing here. What exactly? I don't know yet, but it's wild. Absolutely buck wild. He made it clear, if anyone retaliates after his warning about reciprocal tariffs, there will be consequences. Trump explicitly said, and I'm paraphrasing here, if any nation reacts with retaliation, we'll respond in kind. And now we're watching him stick to his word. It's unfolding right before our eyes. Meanwhile, an account named DB with a hefty 455,900 followers, pointed out something fascinating. They noted a 10% move in the Nasdaq and an 8% shift in the S&P 500, all seemingly triggered by a rumor spreading like wildfire on Twitter. The buzz? A potential 90-day pause on tariffs. Is it true? Who knows? But the markets reacted positively regardless. The blockchain backer chimed in, reposting the observation with his take. It's the shorts closing. The next dip might just be the one-day long. I caught his video this morning. Great insights, as always. His perspective? While we can't be 100% certain, he suspects the broader macro environment is driving assets like XRP below key levels, like the 200-day moving average. But here's the key takeaway. This isn't the end of the world. Recovery still seems likely, a sentiment echoed by many analysts today. Chart analyst Dom also weighed in with an update. At 10:03 a.m., he shared thoughts on Bitcoin's order book. Thank the stacked spot orders, or we'd already be at $70,000, he said. Binance replenished their ammo after the $75,000 mark, and Dom's been consistent for weeks now. Massive support still exists under these levels. He predicts Bitcoin will find a local low around $70,000. But if we break below that, it could mark the first technical shift into a bear trend in 2 years. Let's hope we can stay above these levels. For now, it seems we are, at least at the time of this recording. Here's the latest on XRP, including an order flow update shared earlier today at 9:54 a.m., just about 90 minutes ago. Over the past 12 hours, more than $100 million worth of XRP was sold across the 4 largest spot exchanges. Interestingly, Bitstamp jumped back in with some unusual activity, starting to buy once the sell-off began. Gate.io also stepped in mid-dump, while other exchanges stuck to selling in unison. But there's more to unpack here. Check this out. Bitcoin and XRP perfectly hit their yearly volume-weighted average prices, VWAPs. These levels have been highlighted for months as key indicators, often referred to as the true bull market bands. Historically, breaking below them has always signaled a bear market. Right now, though, we're still holding steady, and it's anyone's guess where things go from here. The big question remains, how low can this market drop? At some point, you'd think a bottom will form, especially since this is clearly a macro-driven event. This isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a broader wave of global panic affecting every market out there. If my gut is right and the situation stabilizes, the fear will ease, and markets should bounce back. It's hard to imagine something so catastrophic that it breaks the entire system, unless this drags on too long. Of course, I could be wrong. Only time will tell, but I'm skeptical that this will result in widespread devastation. To wrap things up, here's what chart analyst Credible Crypto had to say about XRP in the midst of all this turmoil. This morning at 3:41 a.m., Credible Crypto shared an update that caught my attention. Despite higher timeframe bearish divergences on the XRP/ETH pair, he pointed out how resilient the pairing has been. On the USD side, XRP hit his predicted downside target of $1.60, but the XRP ETH pair barely budged during that same period. Let's take a moment to give credit where it's due. Credible Crypto has been calling for this $1.60 move for weeks now, and he nailed it. In fact, XRP touched $1.63 earlier today, right in line with his analysis. Now, I know some might argue, yeah, but that drop was because of the tariffs. How could he have predicted that? Fair point. But here's the thing. Most chart analysts argue that while events like tariffs might act as catalysts, the charts already hint at the direction. If not this catalyst, it would have been another. I'm not putting words in Credible Crypto's mouth, but that's the explanation I've seen from others in the space. Either way, he called it, and it happened. He also added that if XRP reclaims the $2 to $2.20 range and the PO3 target plays out, it could signal even more strength for XRP than expected. In that case, the XRP/ETH pair might not see the bigger pullback some anticipated. The alternative scenario is that XRP drops out of its current buy zone, potentially dragging down the XRP ETH pairing alongside it. But between the two possibilities, I'm leaning toward the former, an extra bullish XRP ETH setup. Why? Because XRP has shown far more explosive price action compared to Ethereum prior to this market-wide correction. If the $1.60 support level holds, that momentum could pave the way for XRP to shine again in the next rally. This pullback to around $1.60 gave Ethereum a chance to stand its ground while XRP dipped, which could have sent the XRP ETH pairing lower, but that didn't happen. So far, XRP remains resilient. At this point, it's a waiting game, watching for fresh moves and more data to confirm the bigger trend. But here's the kicker. XRP's relative strength right now is hard to ignore. Even during this dip against the dollar, XRP's performance stands out when compared to other crypto assets, especially Ethereum. Fascinating, right? By the end of this cycle, I fully expect XRP to leave both Bitcoin and Ethereum in the dust. Mark my words, XRP is poised to dominate. Just a friendly reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. Please don't make any investment decisions based solely on my words. That would be a terrible, terrible, terrible idea.